Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad that you could be with us today alongside Jan from the Save Money and More with Jan channel is with me.
Hey,
Hi,
Steve. Hey,
Jan.
everybody.
Hey. So, what we're going to talk about today, it's a pretty good subject, probably something that a lot of people don't think about a lot of. Um, it is a good way to put some money in your pocket off. It's sort of a side hustle if you think about it. I've done it. I enjoy doing it, and at some point would love to get back into it again. What am I talking about? Reselling. Take stuff that you have that you no longer use of no value to you around your home and put it up for sale, whether it be on Craigslist or OfferUp or some type of way, to get your advertisement out. So, Jan, how do you feel about that?
Oh, Steve, that's one of the things that Steve and I have in common. We were both resellers and at about the same time. We didn't know each other yet, however, but we were doing the reselling in our lives at the time period that we were. We oftentimes refer to it as the Wild West days of reselling on certain platforms. You know what I love the most, Steve? Virtually anyone can start a reselling business without dropping a dime out of
Yep.
their hand. You
Hmm.
don't need startup to do this. All you need is something to resell. And you know what, Steve? How many of us have overcrowded closets, junk drawers, attics that need attending to, basements or garages? We actually more than likely have more than enough quote end of quote inventory to get started. Steve, did you find it as a fun thing to do? I did.
I did. Um, the funny thing of it is, I didn't really look at it as a business, although some people do. No, I looked at it as more of kind of a hobby if you really think about it. I looked at it in that
Mhm.
light. Because, not only the eBay route, which I discovered that later on, the way that it started out with me is my mom and dad, they were the ones that used to go around and find stuff that was, that people would throw away if it needed some repairs. My dad would make the repairs, and resell it. And depending on what the items were, some of the items were given to me. Like, for example, a lot of the time people would throw away a VCR. What was wrong with the VCR? Nothing a whole lot. It needed a belt, it needed the heads cleaned, it was dirty on the inside. Nothing that was of any real major problem, but to somebody else, it was probably a major thing. So when I did that, I was able to take the VCR and turn around and sell it, and make a few bucks on it. And I would run an ad in the paper and people would come take a look at it. But I mean, I sold a whole bunch of other things aside from that. Um, I had a couple of CD players. A lot of the time, you would have a dirty lens on the inside. Okay, all I did was take the top off, a little bit of alcohol and a Q-tip. I cleaned the lens, put the CD in there, hit play, and it worked just fine. Put it back
Wow.
together, sold it. Um, I've done reel to reels. I've done some vintage electronics. Um, it's been a mixed bag of things with me um, over the years. My mom and dad just sold, frivolous things like microwaves, vacuum cleaners, knickknacks, stuff like that. And believe it or not, mom and dad, when they went to the flea market, they actually did fairly well for what they had. I mean, they would do pretty well for a Saturday and Sunday. Um, Back then, it was $13.85 a day to get a table at the flea market. It's much more than that now. So it'd be $13.85 times two. So you might as well say somewhere around 27 close to $28 for 2 days. Now, any money that they made over and above that, the 13.85 for one day, that was all money in their hand. So it all started out with the flea market, then came eBay. You had the newspaper kind of in between the both of those. And but I've got looking back, I've probably got about, well, not now. At that time, I had about 12 years experience doing that type of thing. Today, I've got, I would say, close to 38 years experience. A lot of
Wow.
time has gone. You know, that was in '99. They started doing the flea market in '87, and I stopped selling stuff around '99, and I took a break. And then somewhere around 2002, when I discovered eBay, got a computer, learned how to do that. I did that for a few years, off and on. But I no longer do eBay. The only thing I do with eBay now is purchase. I no longer sell there because now they want too much personal information. And some of the stuff I don't feel like giving out. But bottom line is this: anybody, if you can if you can take an item, you can take pictures of it, and you can sit down and describe it in a description and decide how much you want to sell it for, anybody can sell something.
That's right. And the beauty part is you design your own day. You make your own hours. You work as much or as little as you want.
What you want.
Someone very smart that I knew very well that worked in sales, he was such an inspiration to me. He said, the sky is the limit when it comes to sales. Like, I was never thinking of like reselling as sales, but of course it is. It's reselling, right? And he said to me, Jan, he said, you could sell 15 things in one day and be happy and end it. Or you could find one thing that's going to make you a really fat profit in an hour and your day is done. Like he suggested, like monetary goals to reach every day. And if you're satisfied with that number, you could just pack it all in. But I had found it absolutely a lot of fun. My only thing that I was not a fan of at that time, Steve, was all the trips to the post office, and then I made it a little easier, and then I joined like a postage company, and I was able to print my labels at home. Because remember, those companies were first coming out at that time.
Uh huh.
So it was like they were right. There was like a transition. So then I was able to do it that way. And then, of course, I got into drop shipping. Anyone can do this. You could sell one thing just to make a couple of extra bucks or clean out your closet and be happy with that. But please look into it. I can't emphasize it enough.
Yeah. No. Anybody, with an imagination that can create a description of what you're selling. If you're a little bit up in the air about how to describe something, Google what you have, go look at the specifications, and that can give you a few, ideas of how to go about setting up your description. Never feel like you cannot describe something. Anybody can do that. If you have something for sale, let's say you have an old car. Yeah, I have a 1966 Chevy Impala with a 327. It's got this transmission. It's got a floor shifter. It's got bucket seats. All you have, I'm going to choose that for an example. But if you can describe something, you know, then it's a win-win. It's really not that difficult to do. Uh,
Right. I have a bunch of books that my mom left behind. She had read them a long, long time ago. And I mean, how many times can you read the same book? But there are avid book readers, and I'm thinking of going back into it again. I mean, not like I was full timing it when I was doing it, I was a power seller. Nothing wrong with that. But of course, I have this, my YouTube channel that I enjoy working with and giving helpful messages. But I may just, let's say, start on the one project and go into my mom's little bookcase and just selling them as a box lot. Steve, did you ever sell things as box lots. Like I would make a box lot of the books, not selling the book one book at a time, but box lot, like a bunch of them.
I've done that. I've actually gone. You know what? Now that you mentioned that, not only has it been done with books, I've also done that with magazines as well. So
Oh wow, very cool.
yeah, let me think back. What did I have in way of magazines? I know I've had some National Geographics that I've done that with. Who was it? Well, anyway, that's one of the ones I think Cosmopolitan or Glamour, or it might have been a mixture of, like women's magazines, Good Housekeeping, you know, kind of a little
Nice.
bit of an assortment. Yeah, we did was just put 15 or 20 magazines or whatnot or books, boom, $10 or $5 or whatever I
Yeah.
and a lot of the time they sold pretty easy.
Yes, people, especially other fellow resellers, enjoy purchasing box lots because maybe they have like a weekly flea market vendor area, whatever, and they're totally happy with perhaps selling their books individually, but you're sending it to them as a box lot of flat rate. I do have some recommendations if you're going to sell on any platform where you're going to meet the individual in person. Be sure to designate it in a public, well lit environment. Okay, that's very very important. Don't
Yeah,
have people go to your residence or anything of that nature. Don't give out any personal information whatsoever. That's very important. Stick to your agreement. If the agreement was you bought a pair of sneakers for $5, but you're reselling it for 25, and the person says, yes, I will agree to that, stick to the agreement. Oftentimes, many people will try to say, oh, but I only have, like when they come meet you in person, but I only have $20, whatever. They may try to haggle you, but more or less stick to your guns, whatever, if you will, so to speak, that expression. But honestly, most of the time, I've never had any uncooperation. It was always cooperation on my end. I sold a few refrigerators, Steve. Steve, refrigerators sell like hotcakes. Can you believe it?
right. That will sell like hotcakes because a refrigerator, that's a necessity. I don't know of any home, apartment, condo, whatever you want to pick, that does not have a well, you have to have a way to have cold. You have to refrigerate your food. So
Yes. And it was
that's
apartment size, and it was Phil. I was doing estate sales, Steve. So I was helping people clean out people's apartments of relatives that passed away. And then I
yeah,
would listen. The refrigerators always went like hotcakes. It was unbelievable.
they will. They will. Yep. That's number one. The
So you can
next
make a
one,
ton of money on the bigger items. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Steve?
well, the next thing in line that would probably sell next to a refrigerator, you got to have a way to cook the food, a stove.
Right. Right.
So,
I mean, the sky is the limit as far as items go. There's this one lady, I mentioned her on my channel not long ago. Her channel name is Ms. MS Taffy, like the candy, Taffy. And
uh
her videos are outstanding, Steve. And she takes you on all sorts of adventures. But she seems to have a lot of luck with shoes, selling sneakers, and she's willing to buy them low at yard sales and pay, futuristically people buy them for a higher price. But she cleans up after them very well. Condition is so important.
oh, okay. Now that's good. Well, I've diddle daddled a little bit with shoes in the past. I've had one of the shoes that I still like to wear today. I haven't bought any in a long time. Um, Rockport. I had a pair of Rockports. What had happened is they were a pair of boat shoes. Well, the material that I like is I like the suede material, like the suede leather. Well, this particular pair was all leather, Well, my foot could not completely get used to wearing them, so I wore them, for a little while here and there, kept them in nice shape. I finally sold them on eBay. Somebody did buy them, but
Yeah,
depending on the shoe, sometimes you can do very well with selling a shoe. It depends on what it is.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, that's wonderful, Steve. I couldn't believe how much money this lady was making hand over fist with sneakers. I believe rollerblades. There's a couple of things just so fascinating to me. But you know what? I did reselling. It just really reminded me of an era that had gone by. I did very well reselling at that time videotapes, CDs, electronics. I would resell refurbished electronics. And at that time, then I got into drop shipping. And it was a wonderful company that is no longer, that was based in Florida. And they had like a 1 day turnaround. It was amazing. But you don't have to go all fancy with all that. You could just start with something in your closet that you do not use anymore that could help solve a problem for someone else.
Well, the company that you dealt with in Florida, I also dealt with as well, not in a drop shipping sense. At the flea market, where you go to pay, to rent a table, they have these books that the flea marketers can, they're free, and you go through it, and it gives you the ability to purchase stuff that you can resell. And
Nice.
one of the and I have dealt with the company that you're talking about. I've actually bought stuff from this particular company that you worked with the drop
Begins with
shipping.
a letter P. Am I correct? Begins with a letter P?
Yes, and I had bought some VCR tapes through them. And the sales did pretty good at that time. I don't know how well a VCR tape would sell today because, well, a VCR is sort of old technology by this point. But at that, this was back in the middle late 1990s when I was doing this, not now. And but I have dealt with that particular company. But this particular book, you can probably still get them at any flea market. You can go through it, and they give you a phone number. I'm sure there's a website by this point, and you can go on there and look at their catalog and purchase stuff outright, and they'll ship it to you. And then you just take it, you know, at your own leisure, look at it and resell it, put your own price on it. So uh, I know
Nice.
exactly what you're talking about. Something else I should mention also in the case of reselling is vinyl records. Vinyl records are back in, you know, they're back in fashion
Yeah.
again, I could say. Well, I've got a pretty good extensive collection that I could stand to go through. Some of the selections I also have on CD. Now, do I need the same thing on CD that I have on LP? No, I don't. I could actually get rid of one of them. So LPs is something, or records is something that I could stand to go through, take a look and see what I have, and sell because I know people will buy them because people actually prefer, and it's a true fact, people actually prefer the sound quality of a record over a CD. They do sound better. They
Amazing.
do sound better. I've always thought that analog was more, you know, I always thought it overshadowed the digital sound. I'll just say it that way.
Wow. But the sky's the limit in the variety. You can sell clothing, you sell hats, shoes, you could sell memorabilia, nostalgic stuff, books, electronics. Some people sell cars. I mean, they collect cars and resell them. I mean,
Yeah.
sky's the limit. Coins, if you're a coin collector. One of my best sales was of a rare type of dollar. and someone who I know who he passed away, but he was a well-known artist, and he knew a relative of mine, and he asked me if I would be so kind as to sell such and such of an item, and I did successfully, and I walked away with a hefty amount of profit back then. I was doing a happy dance. I'll never forget when the item sold at auction. Let me tell you something. I literally was doing the happy dance that day. I remember this very well, spinning around the kitchen going, happy dance, happy dance. But it was
Yeah.
fun. It was very personally fulfilling. And I helped the artist, family friend. And yeah, it was all around a good experience. And I learned a thing or two about rare collectibles at that point.
Mhm.
So we highly recommend reselling. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Yep. And again, anybody can do it. Don't never say that. Never say that you can't, because you can. If you, this is just a little thing that I have that I go by, or I have used in the past. If you use the little term of the little engine that could, you'll be fine. I think I can. I know I can. I know I can. I know I can. And then the
Yeah,
end result, and then the end result will be, I thought I could. I thought I could. So
there you
never
go.
say no. I can't do that. I just can't. Don't build walls. If you build walls, and you're trying to put some money in your hand, how is that going to help you? It's not.
It's not.
No,
Don't be self negative. Got to wash that out of your brain. Self negativity is never good.
no, it's not. Well, anyway, this was a pretty good subject. Just remember, you can do it. Everybody's got stuff lying around their home that they don't need, that's of no value to you, that's collecting dust. So pass it on to somebody else, sell it. You'll make somebody else happy. Who knows? It might be something that they've been looking for years and couldn't come across, but yet you had one. You just don't know.
The
Well,
truth.
anyway, Jan, I'm glad that you were able to stop by.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Well, anyway, guys, if you like what you see, like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. If you like the content, you like my channel, please subscribe. Much appreciated. And always be on the lookout for I or Jan. We're always on. And again, keep your eyes open. You never know when we're going to turn up. Usually, in our case, it's more toward the weekend. Me, I'm either on the weekend or in the early part of the week. So keep a lookout. Anyway, hope everybody has a great whatever time of day it is for you. And I or we will see you here next time. Bye.
Bye bye.